Solid Sports.
The Tennessee Volunteers on a Neyland Stadium football Saturday afternoon come running through the tee.
Voted Blank News Knoxville's finest sports show.
It's football time in Tennessee.
Sponsored by Cool Beans, a block off the strip on Lake Avenue.
To the checkerboards. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT athletics. Here's tonight's host.
Everybody, welcome in to the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports. We got a great show planned for you guys tonight. We are brought to you by Cool Beans Bar and Grill over at Lake Avenue. It's the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus 1817 Lake Avenue is the address. It's a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HD TVs, darts, pool, and arcade games open every day at 11 a.m. It's got burgers, wings, and sandwiches for dine-in or takeout with Vault Card accepted. There's more on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or coolbeansbar.com. And over at Cool Beans, got our guy Riley Haltom. Riley, how's the atmosphere at Cool Beans tonight?
Yeah, it's great as always, Jack. We got the music playing. We got Monday Night Countdown on, getting ready for Monday Night Football. So, as always, great environment down here at Cool Beans. Come get something to drink, something to eat. Great food, great drinks, as always.
Absolutely, Riley. And as I said, we have a great show planned for you guys. As always on the Monday night show, we're going to kick it off with a little football talk. You know, I've had my Snickers, I've had my bottle of water. I'm ready to talk, Joseph. I don't know about you, but we got some exciting news about the Tennessee football Volunteers on Sunday afternoon as they finished, or in the final college football rankings poll, they were ranked 6th, meaning they get the Orange Bowl berth as they are the second highest SEC team ranked outside of the top 4, Alabama being the 5th, to play the Clemson Tigers, the ACC champions, in the Orange Bowl down in Miami on December 30th. So, Joseph, it's an orange-on-orange matchup. I mean, for the Orange Bowl, can't get much better than this.
Yeah, this is the true Orange Bowl. I think the only thing that would make it more orange is if it was Syracuse playing
Right.
Tennessee, considering Tennessee's the big orange, Syracuse is the big orange.
Yeah, I get it.
You get it. You get it. But no, as much as it sucks and how unfair and kind of confusing it is that Tennessee is ranked behind Alabama, which they shouldn't be. Let's start that off, that they should not be behind Alabama. The head-to-head, just basically all of the descriptors for the College Football Playoff Committee describe how Tennessee should be ahead of Alabama. Doesn't matter. I think they got the better bowl. They got the better matchup. They got the more exciting matchup against Clemson, who, for the first time in a long time, will not be in the college football playoff alongside Alabama.
Right.
This is the first college football playoff without either of those teams. But I think all things being said, Tennessee got a great matchup with Clemson in the Orange Bowl. I'd rather go to Miami than to Texas, to be honest, if I was Tennessee.
Or to Noah.
Or to New Orleans. That's what I meant. Yeah,
Cotton
sorry.
would be
Cotton would be
Dallas.
in Texas. Sugar's in New Orleans. But I'd rather be in Miami than New Orleans anyways. A lot warmer down there in Miami.
I'd rather play Clemson. I mean, they obviously are the tougher opponent, I think, than Kansas State would be.
Oh, yeah.
But, the opportunity to play a program like Clemson is definitely more significant. And we do have a fourth member tonight, as Bryson Wright, as always, is joining us on the Monday night show. Bryson, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about you, Jack?
I'm doing good. A little out of breath?
Well, yeah, I was rushing to get here after we dropped Riley off at good old Cool Beans.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But I will say about the Clemson thing, one of the things that's very important is you look at it coming into the season, nobody was thinking, can Tennessee compete with teams like Kansas State? Nobody was thinking that. Everybody wanted Tennessee to compete with teams like Clemson, teams that have been to the college football playoff in the last few years, get there consistently. So I think it would be very good to see them play against, maybe if they're not necessarily, I would say they're a better opponent too. I know Kansas State did win the Big 12 championship and all that, but I think Clemson still is a better team and probably a better barometer of where Tennessee is right now.
Yeah, I mean, all this talk about Heupel's offense, and I know Hendon Hooker, of course, isn't going to play, maybe missing some other pieces, but, Clemson's defense is one of the best in the country, if not the best, arguably the best front, the best pass rush and run defense there you can face in college football. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, and we're going to get into a little bit of that here in a second. But first, I want to talk about what just happened before we came on air at 6:45 over on NFL Monday Night Countdown. The Heisman finalists were announced. Now, 3 only go to New York, but the 4 finalists were announced, and it is all 4 quarterbacks. USC quarterback Caleb Williams, no surprise there. Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud, no surprise there. And then the other 2 are TCU quarterback Max Duggan, had a heroic performance, even though they lost against Kansas State in the Big 12 title game. And then Stetson Bennett is the only SEC quarterback only SEC player to represent the conference in the Heisman finalist list. He gets it over Hendon Hooker. A lot of people thought Hendon Hooker maybe still had a shot at becoming a finalist. He had an excellent year, was a front runner for the good part of the year, but of course the injury put a damper on those odds. But still, man, I don't know if this is right, Joseph.
No, and listen, the one I'm going to point out is Stetson Bennett. The only thing Stetson Bennett has on Hendon Hooker is the fact that he played 2 more games. That's it.
Yeah,
he played 2 more games. He won the conference. He undefeated.
Head-to-head.
Yeah, and he did beat him head to head. But you go off pure stats. I mean, Hendon Hooker had 300 less yards. He had a way better completion percentage, or almost a whole percentage better, 68 versus 69.3. Touchdowns, 7 more passing touchdowns, 4 less interceptions, 2 for Hendon Hooker, 6 for Stetson Bennett. In terms of pure quarterback play, Hendon Hooker was the better quarterback. It just was. I mean, the stats prove it. The eye test proves it. But Stetson Bennett led the undefeated Georgia Bulldogs to a conference championship, to the number 1 seed, or the number 1 ranking in the college football playoff.
It's just like
he's going to get it.
It's like he just automatically got it because he's the best. He's the quarterback on the best team.
I mean, that's what happened. I mean, that's what typically happens in these more modern Heisman races is, oh, you're a quarterback on the best team? Yeah, we're going to take. I mean, Max Duggan, as good as he's been this season, I mean, would you have been considering him a Heisman candidate 4 weeks ago?
Well, yeah, and the thing about Max Duggan is he has had a couple of bad games, and he hasn't been all the way healthy all year. Someone who has been and who has only had a couple of bad games is Drake May of North Carolina. I think you could argue those 2, but it's just the fact that TCU is in the college football playoff that puts Duggan over May. But if you look at the stats, it's a different story.
I mean, here's Duggan's stats for this year, and again, played a whole one. He played in every single game for TCU, all the way through, all 4 quarters. Hendon didn't do that. 2, he played in 2 extra games compared to Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker didn't play against Vandy or in a conference championship. And he had 200 more yards, 3 more touchdowns, and 2 more interceptions. And he had 4 percentage less completion, 69.3 to 64.9.
Yeah. And a lot of these a lot of Duggan and Stetson's cases feels like recency bias because look at the last 2 games they played.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Stetson torched LSU, absolutely torched LSU. And then Duggan, like I said, just had that awesome drive against Kansas State. The only reason they were able to tie it up there at the end and send it into OT. But I just feel like Hendon Hooker got robbed.
I mean,
I think that if he hadn't gotten hurt, he definitely would have been going to New York for the Heisman ceremony. I don't think there's a question.
He would have been I still think even with the loss to South Carolina, he would still be the favorite, especially after how championship weekend played out. I think Hendon would be the favorite. I mean, I think his
to win the Heisman.
Oh, CJ.
I don't know if he would be the favorite.
Let's look at.
I still think Caleb Williams would probably be the favorite.
Let's look. He would be closer to the favorite than say Stetson Bennett, Max Duggan, CJ Stroud.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
Listen,
maybe not CJ Stroud.
I don't know.
Oh, no. CJ Stroud has looked terrible. The only reason he's in there is because he plays on Ohio State. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He got all the Midwest votes. He got every single Midwest vote, and that's the one reason. He's looked so bad the last month of the season. He just has. Look at how he looked against Michigan. Not great. He didn't go to a conference championship. He sure as heck isn't going to beat Georgia in the college football playoffs. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3.
The only reason he's in the playoffs right now is because another team lost. Not because Ohio State did anything. True. Not because Ohio State did anything to prove that they belong there. It's just because other teams proved that they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, among these 4 finalists, 3 of them are quarterbacking teams that made the CFP. So it's really telling this year, especially of the finalists listed, that if you're quarterback on a great team, you have a great shot. Now, I will say one of my biggest cases for Hendon Hooker is why is Georgia good? Their defense, right?
Defense, yeah.
Great running game, too. Now, I like Stetson. I think he's underrated.
He's a dog.
Yeah. But why is, USC, Caleb Williams, perfect example. Like Hendon Hooker, Caleb Williams is the reason USC is good. Max Duggan is the reason TCU is pretty good. Hendon Hooker was the reason Tennessee was really good. So I think that is the argument for Hooker versus Stetson, and I think that's why Duggan ended up making it.
It's like the Heisman. Okay, so we've heard all week, or I guess all the past 24, 26 hours, however it's been since they released the college, whatever it is, since they released the college football playoff, is, the top 4 teams are not the 4 best teams in the country. They might not be the top 4 best teams in terms of talent, in terms of recruiting in the country. But guess what? They're the 4 teams that did the most to prove that they were there when it mattered. Hendon Hooker, unfortunately, could not do that when it mattered because he didn't play. And like you said, the recency bias is coming in, and the playoffs play a big part in the Heisman race. Unfortunately, they do.
Mm.
And it's showing.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, though.
I mean, yeah, but
because,
it makes sense.
If your team makes the college football playoff, then obviously you're on one of the best teams in the country.
That doesn't mean that you're the best player in the country.
Quarterbacks on the better teams, especially in college football, are the ones that put up the best stats.
It feels like you have a built-in hurdle if you're going to be on a team that isn't making the CFP, because you have to have overwhelming stats to win the Heisman, like Lamar Jackson did. Yeah. You have to be just out of this world on the stat sheet. And
like, if your team is going to go 8-4, it has to be like, if you weren't on the team, they'd be 2-8 basically.
Right.
And Tennessee would not have won 10. Tennessee would not have won 10 games this year without Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker made Tennessee. I don't know if Stetson Bennett makes Georgia.
I think Georgia wins at least 12 games. I think Georgia wins at least 12 games without Stetson.
Yeah, I don't know how much Georgia football you guys watched, but they were in a couple of close games. How many games did Stetson Bennett win them? He didn't win them Tennessee. May have gotten them out to a hot start a little bit, but the defense won that game by shutting down the offense. He didn't win that game against Missouri.
I would say the Oregon game, because he lit.
Well, that's a 49-3 blowout.
He lit Oregon up.
No one's like winning that game.
Again, it's the defense.
I'm talking about
he didn't have a Heisman moment.
Yeah, yes, there you go. Hendon Hooker had a Heisman moment.
Yeah, Alabama.
Right. Max Duggan.
Yeah, no, I'll say out of all these guys, I think Stetson was the one where when I saw it pop up, I was like, what? Like, even like Max Duggan, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, TCU was good. He just had that crazy drive. He had a great season. TCU basically feels like the team of destiny at this point, because it just felt like, I mean, I know they ended up losing in the Big 12 championship, but up until that, it was just they were just figuring out how to win every game. So I get that. But I give you Stetson Bennett was kind of questionable, but I mean, he's the quarterback of the best team in the country. So I'm not surprised that they ended up putting him in there.
And I don't even know if he's going to.
Especially because Hooker got hurt.
He's number 4 on my list.
Yeah, I don't know.
Out of those 4, I think he is number 4. I think right now it's Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud, Max Duggan, Stetson Bennett at 4.
Yeah.
It's more than likely going to be Williams, and it's not because...
And I'm fine with it. I really am.
Well, out of those 4, Williams is the guy that is I think he is the best quarterback.
Yeah.
He's the best.
He's the best college football quarterback.
He's the best. And he's the best player.
Mm-hmm.
He's the best player out of those 4 right now. I mean, did you watch that game? I know they lost, but did you watch that game against Utah? He had like 3 Heisman moments
in the first half.
I mean, that he was ridiculous, and it's not his fault that he plays in the Pac-12 where they don't play defense.
Yeah,
like, come on now.
And even the Notre Dame game, I feel like the Notre Dame game sealed him as the number 1 favorite just because of what he did in that game against that defense that had been stopping everybody. So yeah, it's a fun discussion. We all kind of
just the stat that Riley texted me real quick. Stetson Bennett has 27 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in 13 games. Hendon Hooker, 32 total touchdowns and 2 interceptions in 10.5 games.
Yeah, we all know Hendon Hooker doesn't throw picks. That's, one of his best attributes. But yeah, it's a fun conversation. 3 are going to go to New York. I think that's William Stroud Duggan. Caleb should win it. He deserves it. And we'll move on. And you kind of opened the door a little bit, and I want to address this before we get back into Orange Bowl talk about the CFP, because there's a large collective of people, some people close to me included, that think that Alabama should have made it over TCU, even though they have 2 losses. And, when you had to win the games, you couldn't get it done. TCU, week in, week out, won the games. They went undefeated in the regular season. They made their conference championship game. Like, to me, I don't even understand how there's an argument. I legitimately don't.
When your best argument that you should be in the college football playoffs is that you lost games, That's not an argument. You don't deserve to be in.
But no, Joseph. We have better players.
It doesn't matter. You didn't have the better season. Those better players didn't win the games. TCU, they went undefeated in the regular season. They proved that they could win, and they did win. They went to a conference championship. Yeah, they lost that conference championship. They competed. It was a one-score game that went to overtime against a really good Kansas State team, who is a top 10 team, by the way.
Yes.
But let's not forget about that.
Okay. List of teams that have top 10 wins right now. Georgia over Tennessee, Michigan over OSU, TCU over Kansas State.
Tennessee over Alabama.
And then Tennessee over, yes. So, but in the CFP, TCU has a win against the top 10 team. Bama's best win is against number 20 Texas, who has 4 losses. And they barely did it against a backup quarterback. They were 1 play away from losing to Ole Miss and to A&M. Now, I know they were also 2 plays away from going undefeated on the season. I will listen to that side of the argument as well. But you can't say Alabama deserved to be in the CFP. 2 losses. Their chances of even making it to Atlanta were squashed 3 weeks before the regular season concluded. If we're going to base this off of who has the better roster on paper, then why do we even play?
Yeah,
I mean,
let's
just call
that's what I would
send
say
Georgia
too.
and Alabama to the Natty every year.
Yeah.
It's not about how many 5 stars you have. You know what I mean? Obviously, Alabama has one of the best rosters in the country. They have Bryce Young, who won the Heisman last year and everything like that. It's a great team. And, I mean, it's not like they had a horrible season. I mean, I guess for Alabama standards, they had a down year. Oh, no, they lost 2 games. But no 2-loss team has ever made the college football playoff. And when you have a 1-loss TCU, when their 1 loss is in the conference championship game on a game-winning kick in the last week of the season against a team that has 2 losses and did not go to their conference championship, I think TCU definitely deserves it more. Now, are they the better team on paper? I do think that probably if Alabama and TCU played, I think Alabama might win. But I think that's also a reason why they're expanding the playoff for the next years, because 2 or 3 years from now, if this happens, Alabama and TCU can prove who's better in a couple weeks. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when they actually do the expansion.
And Nick Saban's argument on the Fox interview was that, hey, if we play TCU right now, he didn't out TCU, but he said, if we play some of these teams they're considering TCU, who would be favored? And maybe you would be by a field goal. But I really think it'd be close. And I'm not counting Max Duggan out of the game. I'm just not. Big 12 is actually pretty good. People give them a bad rep.
Can we just talk a minute that Nick Saban, a coach for Alabama, was allowed to go on national television during championship weekend and bid for his team? When have you ever seen another coach do that? When? I've never seen that.
I know,
non-college football. I have never seen
but it's
network.
A genius TV move.
I agree. But I have never seen a network say, hey, you know what? Go on national championship and beg for your spot. Honestly, and the fact that they didn't make it in makes that look so much worse. It's like, oh, you got on national TV, you looked at every person in the country, and you got on your knees and you begged and you groveled.
I don't know.
For the
that's a little extreme.
For the 4th spot in the playoff.
I don't know if that's.
And your best argument was that you lost games. That's embarrassing. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want Tennessee to do that. As a fan of Tennessee, I wouldn't want Josh Heupel to go on national TV and beg and grovel. Go out there and prove it on the field.
Yeah.
You didn't do that, Bama. You didn't do that, Nick Saban. You don't deserve to get in, and that's why you're not in. College Football Playoff Committee got it right for one of the few times this season.
Yeah, they did get it right. And if I'm Nick Saban, if I'm Nick Saban, I'm not even accepting that interview because I'm like, nah. I know the reality.
That is literally a layup.
But I will say, kudos to the Fox people for asking pretty good questions. I actually like the questions. The interview was entertaining. I know, I see what you're saying. It was kind of pathetic on Saban, but it made good TV. And I feel like he knew it was pathetic, but he did it anyway.
I know. I'm just saying you won't
he was almost smiling.
You wouldn't see any other team. You wouldn't see any other team go on and do that. Not one other team. But because it's Alabama, because of that Crimson A, because it's Nick Saban, because of his history, he gets special treatment. He gets to go on. And listen, that's nothing against any other team. I'm just saying Alabama has been college football's baby for the past decade. And they're going to get treated like that for as long as Nick Saban's in power over there.
Yeah, well, what do you know? That interview got us talking 3 minutes about it on our radio show. So this is why they did it, Joseph. We're proving them right. But back to the Orange Bowl, guys. Let's talk about Tennessee. We've talked about enough other teams. Tennessee versus Clemson, as I said. Clemson's got a lot of interesting things going on. In the ACC title game, they benched their starter for the whole season in DJ Uyunglele after 2 drives. He's been putrid all season outside of one game. Dabo Swinney has been so late in making this decision. He should have made it so long ago. They could probably be in the CFP if he'd have made it about a month and a half ago. But I digress. And Cade Klubnik is now the starter. He's a true freshman, and he lit up the Tar Heels as the Clemson cruised to a 39-10 victory in Charlotte to win the ACC. Joseph, Cade Klubnik's looking like the real deal, and with this Tennessee defense, I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, well, his sample size is against UNC.
Okay, but
listen, does not have a good defense at all. We all remember the Appalachian State game back in week 1?
Oh, they're bad. Yes.
I mean, awful defense. Probably worse than Tennessee's, to be honest. Now he's got to go and face a Tennessee defense that's probably not going to have a couple players due to NFL drafts sitting out for the NFL draft.
I would say like max 2 to 3.
I'm not going to name players because I don't know. That's speculation, but I would assume that there are going to be a couple sitting out.
Yeah. Okay.
And plus they're injured already. I mean, when it came out after the Vanderbilt game that Trayvon Flowers was playing the entire second half of the season with a broken hand.
Yeah, and he didn't even play Vandy game, so he probably won't play.
And he didn't play against Vandy, so he's going to play against this beaten and battered and a lack of depth at this Tennessee defense. And he's probably going to torch him up. I mean, he's probably going to be honest. Big stage, true freshman, coming off a great game, winning the ACC championship for Clemson against a really bad defense. Probably going to light him up. Now you got to see how Tennessee's offense responds, and with Joe Milton, and whether or not they have some key pieces on the offensive line and in their wide receiver core sit out or decide to play.
Yeah, I think the intriguing. I don't feel like Cedric Tillman will play just because he's already been banged up and he's going pro. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Joe Milton plays against this Clemson defense because I mentioned earlier in the hour that they're one of the best defenses in the country. And if Joe Milton's going to be the guy next year, this is an early test, Bryson, to see his chops.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this could be something that's very good for Joe Milton too, to kind of build a little bit more kind of rapport in the offense and everything like that. I mean, obviously Josh Heupel trust him just from being in the system for the last couple of years. I think that's not even a problem, but just to actually play against a really quality opponent, which we actually really haven't seen yet. I mean, if you look at it this season, most of the games he came in were in blowout games, besides, I guess, against South Carolina when he came in, but that was at the end of a game. It was already a blowout, you know what I mean, in the other direction. And then if you look at the beginning of last season, we really didn't get to see him much against quality opponents either. Except for the Pitt game. So not a lot of stuff to look back on against really good teams for Joe Milton. So this could be something good for his resume. And I think it could be something good for the coaching staff to see if Joe Milton is officially the guy or if maybe they're going to look in the transfer portal to see if there's going to be like a quarterback controversy, kind of stuff like that. Not saying they're going to base everything off of this game, but I think that if Joe goes out and has an awesome game, they're going to be much less likely to bring somebody else in.
Yeah, and this will be a fun game to talk about all month as we're leading up. Again, December 30th, the Orange Bowl, Tennessee, Clemson, going to be a lot of fun. You mentioned the transfer portal, Bryson. We'll close this segment with this. Now, there's a lot of people entering the transfer portal, Joseph. A lot of exciting names. You go from Spencer Sanders at OK State, Devin Leary at NC State, of course, DJ Uiagalelei, who I guess we didn't mention, but he did end up entering the transfer portal this week. So do you think that Tennessee might pursue a quarterback in the transfer portal?
Oh, absolutely. It's Josh Heupel. I mean, he lived in the transfer portal in his first 2 years at Tennessee because he didn't have any recruiting. He had to go to the transfer portal. And now you're seeing this year, I mean, there were over 600 transfers just today. I mean, over 600 transfers just today. And I think there's over 60 quarterbacks in there right now. Why wouldn't you go look at it? And I'm not saying that Tennessee isn't going to go, say, hey, let's give you a shot. Hey, do you want to come compete for a spot? Obviously, that's going to happen. My biggest concern with the quarterback position, especially in the transfer portal, is whether or not Tennessee is a desirable place for transfer quarterbacks, especially these high-name transfer quarterbacks like DJ Uiagalelei or Sanders or Leary from NC State. Some of these big names that have proven to be really good quarterbacks, they want to go somewhere where they're going to be a proven starter. That's what I'm saying.
That's true. I would say if you have more than 1 year of eligibility, they probably won't end up coming here just because they know Nico is coming.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
But if you only have 1 year left, and it's just like you have to beat Joe Milton.
Yeah, a majority of quarterback transfers do not transfer to go into a competition, especially guys that are juniors and seniors. They don't. They're not going to go waste.
Exactly.
They're not going to go waste their last year or 2 years of eligibility competing for maybe a spot when, there's a guy there like Joe Milton who's already got 3 years in the system. You have a 5-star freshman quarterback coming in, and you have a 4-star already on the roster in Taven Jackson, who's probably going to be quarterback, or right now, I mean, if he wasn't injured, he'd be QB2 on the roster. So I'm not saying that Josh Heupel's not going to go after, because he would be stupid not to. Coaches would be stupid not to try just because they think they have their guy. Always go after the best players, because you never know what you're going to find. But I'm just saying, Tennessee might not be as desirable as a place for some of these bigger named guys.
Absolutely. And 2 names I would look out for just as we move along are Spencer Sanders and Phil Dracovic from Boston College. You got to be mobile in a high pull system. Both those guys can run. So just 2 early names to look out there. Not any notable players entering the transfer portal departing Tennessee yet. Just a couple of backup offensive guys, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end. So we'll keep you updated on that if there's any significant news there. We're going to head to a quick break here on Rock Solid Sports. Stick around for some UT basketball talk when we come back to break. This is 90.3 The Rock's Rock Solid Sports.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pre- and post-game location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the shows live from 7 to 8 p.m. at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2022-2023 home ice season from October through April includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets are at KnoxvilleIceBears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Link up at WUTKRadio.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says go Ice Bears.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social has an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
They're playing basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 8th season on the hardwood includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. General public ticket info for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetickets.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says go Vols basketball.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center. Spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chill wave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
The Rock receives support from The Hill, Fort Sanders' destination for wings, beer, and sports, including college football every Saturday and the NFL Sunday Ticket. The Hill proudly hosts Rock Solid Sports Friday broadcast from 7 to 8 p.m. Located at 1105 Forest Avenue, just blocks from UT campus, The Hill is open 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. every day. TheHillKnox.com.
The Rock keeps the Big Orange Sports info on air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2022-2023 home schedule includes games against UConn, Virginia Tech, SEC foes, and more. General public ticket info is at allballs.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. WUTK says go Lady Vols.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports here on WUTK 90.3 The Rock. We are brought to you tonight by Cool Beans Bar and Grill. And over at Cool Beans Bar and Grill at 1817 Lake Avenue, we have our guy, Riley Haltom. Riley, how is the atmosphere going at Cool Beans tonight as everyone prepares for Monday Night Football?
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere, Jack. We got watching the highlights of the Titans getting absolutely routed by Jalen Hurts here on the Monday night countdown. But it's a good vibe down here. We got some good music playing, good drinks, good food. Come on down to Cool Beans and get you some.
Absolutely, Riley. And I do want to correct something I said before we went to break. Phil Dracovic of Boston College has already committed to Pitt, but Keaton Slovis entered the transfer portal, who was the starter for the Pittsburgh Panthers. So correction there. That happened in all the craziness of the college football news today, so I must have missed that. But we are going to get into some Tennessee basketball news, Joseph. We talked last week, kind of recapping the battle for Atlantis for these for the men's Vols, and they swept. They beat the defending national champions in Kansas. Looked really, really good in doing so down there in the Bahamas. And since then, they have gone 2-0 in the past week with wins over McNeese State and Alcorn State, and they weren't just any wins. First one was a 36-point win over McNeese, and then last night, a 54-point win over Alcorn State. I mean, Tennessee is just pouring it on folks right now.
Yeah, you kind of saw it when they went down for the Battle for Atlantis tournament, but that loss to Colorado has just sparked something in this team. And you heard Josiah Jordan-James after the game say, this was a good loss for us. We're going to learn from this. We're going to bounce back, and we're going to be better than ever. We needed this loss early in the season. And he was right, because since then, I mean, they have looked like the Tennessee team that we all expected this to be. And the Tennessee team that we usually see in the regular season under Rick Barnes so far. 6 straight wins. They've now won 21 straight home games as well, which is an incredible streak on its own. But this Tennessee Vols team has waken up. And, they're not even doing it at full strength. They've been missing Santiago Vescovi for the last game. Yeah. They'll lose them for the game on Wednesday. Coming up, Josiah Jordan-James hasn't played much since that Colorado game.
Yeah, man, his situation's weird. I mean, it's knee soreness,
and
it's I know you want to be healthy for SC play first and foremost.
And we talked to Rick Barnes last week in the weekly media availability, and Rick Barnes told us that it was completely up to Josiah. The coaching staff, the trainers, he's cleared to play. He is cleared to play. They're putting it all on him to say, can you come out and can you give us a decent chance, and can you come out and make a difference and not hurt yourself and not hurt the team? And Josiah has made the decision to continue to sit and to continue to try to heal that knee up, which, yeah, it sucks for him considering this will be his last year in the orange and white. But honestly, is it the right? I'm pretty sure it's the right decision.
Well, it's working. Not that he would be a detriment if he was on the court, but he's right in that he doesn't really need to be needed right now, and you want him fully healthy.
You would rather have him 100%. You would rather have him 100%. And
Arizona's less than a month away. Yeah. You want him 100% for that game, Bryson.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's what I would say is that if it's McNeese State and Alcorn State and teams like that, I mean, obviously, I know he did play in the last game, but it's one of those things where I don't think it's very important for him to play right now. I would say look at him to play in that Maryland game for sure, because Maryland is a pretty good team. I think they're 13th in the country right now.
Yeah,
so I would say for that game and then the Arizona game, that's when you want him to be healthy, because that's when you're playing games that can help you on your NCAA tournament resume. And at the end of the day, if those are teams that they're looking at, if it's between Tennessee and Arizona for who's going to get a 3 seed and who's going to get a 4 seed, a head-to-head win coming up could be very big, because I think all of these teams are going to be very close. College basketball has been insane to start the year. But yeah, Tennessee has definitely picked it up ever since that Colorado loss. And we're going to get to see how good they really are over this next stretch with those 2 games against Maryland and Arizona, and then SEC play starting right after that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, what Eastern Kentucky does come first on Wednesday night. That is another game here in Thompson Bowling Arena, just across the street at 7 p.m. Eastern. After that, they'll head up to New York to play Maryland. And then, as Bryce had said, they'll head out west to play Arizona on Saturday, December 17th.
Yes, that'll be a huge game.
Huge game.
Another thing is for Tennessee's defense. They have the best defense in the country right now in terms of defensive efficiency.
That's Rick Barnes'
especially when you look at their last games, 40 points, holding Kansas to 50. So that defense has been insane.
Yeah, and 2 of the biggest factors of that defense have been Julian Phillips and Olivier Kamla. 2 guys I've been really impressed with these last 2 games. Phillips has been killing it, Joseph. He's looking like a true 5-star freshman.
Yeah, he got off to a slow start. Kind of adjusting from moving into high school into the college ranks and playing with some of these bigger guys. But he's getting there. I think at Alcorn State he had a pretty decent stat line. Put up,
he had 18 points,
18 points,
4 boards, 3 assists, a steal, block. He filled up the stat sheet.
Yeah, and what I've been really impressed with Julian Phillips is his ability to his versatility, I should say. Not only is he doing it, like you mentioned, on the defensive end, he's doing it on the offensive side. He's doing it on the boards. He's getting to the free throw line. He's doing good at the free throw line. He went 7 for 7 against Alcorn State at the free throw line. I think he went the game a couple weeks ago before the Battle for Atlantis. He was 9 of 11. 9 of his 13 points came from the free throw line. But Julian Phillips really coming into his own and is going to be a huge role for Tennessee throughout this entire season. And I'm not sure if he'll be a one and done. Obviously, the draft boards probably say he will be. But if he could come back and he could get a second year under Rick Barnes, bulk up a little bit, and come back as a second year player, I couldn't imagine what type of monster season he would have next year.
And I mean, SEC play is just so much of the college basketball season. And right now you're just testing the waters. Of course, you're going to have fun big games against Kansas and Alabama playing North Carolina. Stuff like that's going to happen in the fall and the winter. But, really once we turn the calendars is when college basketball gets really fun. But it's important to look at what Julian Phillips is doing right now. And Olivier Kamla, the other guy I wanted to get to, he had 20 points against Alcorn State. He had 11 against McNeese, so 31 points in the past 2 games combined, 10 boards. Then he had 6 assists against Alcorn last night too. So Olivier Kamla kind of coming to his own. Last year he kind of started slow, got really good, was one of the best players on the floor for Tennessee. Then he got hurt and was out for the season. Now we kind of saw him start slow again, but even faster than he did last year. He started coming on his own and be a really key player for the Vols.
Yeah, and one thing we've always criticized these Rick Barnes teams about is, you have no post presence. No post presence. I mean, we haven't seen a true post presence since Grant Williams, and he wasn't even a true inside player. I mean, yeah, he dominated on the inside, but I mean, he wasn't a true 5. He wasn't a true big. And you haven't really seen that from a Rick Barnes team. Now you have Olivier Kamla, who's coming out this year, and he's that true post player for the Vols. He's going out there and he's proven why he is that true post player for the Vols this year, and why he deserves to be in the starting 5, and why he's going to dominate in the inside and create an inside game for Tennessee. And with that inside game, it's going to open up what they're really good at, and that's shooting the threes outside, because you can't.
That's what they live and die by now.
It's really tough to guard both the inside and the outside. And if Olivier Kamla and Jonas Adu, who is also been coming into his own since that Battle for Atlantis tournament, if they can create a heavier presence in the paint, I can't imagine what this team's limits are.
Yeah, no, for real.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and if you look at last season, I think that Olivier Kamla getting hurt is one of the reasons why the season ended earlier than a lot of people thought it would. Because, I mean, you look at that Michigan game, they had to shoot all those threes, and then they just had an off night, and they really didn't have anything else they could do.
Yeah, no answer
besides
for
obviously
Dickinson.
Kennedy Chandler played well.
Yeah.
But they just didn't have anybody inside that could score that much. So they just continued to go to the three, and their shots weren't falling. I feel like if Olivier had been healthy at that time, maybe he would have helped them out a lot. And I think we've kind of seen that is that since that Colorado game, they've been trying to feature him a lot more. And I think that's part of what Rick Barnes has wanted to do. And as they've tried to feature them inside and a lot more like Julian Phillips too, not just going on the inside, but also shooting more like mid-range jumpers and stuff like that, instead of only shooting threes or layups, getting somebody that can score in the mid-range as well. But I think with Olivier, just based on how he's played so far this season, I think he's going to be one of the most important players on the team, no question, and really just some steady offense outside of the perimeter guys. And he's really the only consistent offense you can get outside of those perimeter players at this point.
Okay, out of all of the 5 starters, or the 5 normal starters, I should say, for Tennessee, or the ones that have played majority of the games, Olivier is shooting the highest field goal percentage at 54.5%.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's been on fire.
he's been, and then he's shooting 33% from 3. Obviously, probably he's taken what, like.
No, I mean he'll jack him up.
I mean, he can shoot him, but he's
I
probably
don't
not
know his
taking
number,
much.
but it's not going to be super low.
He's really efficient down low, and that's really what you want to see from a Tennessee player. It's why Euros Plavsic has gotten so much criticism over the last years, because he's so inconsistent. He'll have a game where he'll miss so many easy shots at the rim, but then he'll come back and he'll have a game where he makes everything within 5 feet of the 5 feet of the basket. Tennessee needs that guy that's going to go out there night in and night out and consistently put up points in the paint. And Olivier is doing that so far early this season.
Yeah, Joseph, and
definitely.
You want to add on to that, Bryson?
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say he's definitely the number one guy on the inside, because, like you said, when you look at Uros and even Jonas Idu, who has been playing a lot better this year, he's not giving you that consistent offense. He's more of like, I'm going to be a rim protector. And I think he had like 4 or 5 blocks in one of those games over the last week too.
Yeah, he's averaging
but he's more of like a
1.3 blocks
defensive
a game.
presence.
Yeah. No,
You said what?
He's averaging 1.3 blocks a game. Kamwa is averaging 1 block a game. That's how good Kamwa's been. Jonas has been so good defensively. Kamwa's right there, and he's doing it way better offensively than Jonas. That's how good he has been for Tennessee so far.
Yep, and he's allowing the guards to play better as well. And Tennessee's going to be even more exciting when Santi and Joe, arguably their 2 best players, get fully healthy and going and under their feet. We'll transition now to the Lady Vols. Not as good of a run the Lady Vols have had as the Vols have been having. They're now 4-5 on the season. They took care of business against some pretty low competition, but then they played another ranked team yesterday, and they did much better this time around than they did against the likes of Ohio State or Indiana. This game was really close, and it went down to the wire, almost to OT. The Lady Vols had a chance to send it to OT on their last possession, but ultimately they couldn't get the shot to fall. And Jordan Horston, actually, on the possession before that, had a chance to really make it interesting, but her shot didn't fall. So the Lady Vols fall to Virginia Tech close by 3 points. They're now 4-5 on the season. Guys, if a lot of people are hitting the panic button on the Lady Volunteers 9 games in. I don't know if I'm there yet. They're really banged up, and Rakia Jackson is now, I guess you can say, suspended moving forward, even though that's not been the term that has been verified, but it's basically what it is. By coach's decision, she is out indefinitely. So do with that what you will.
Plus, they're missing Jillian Hollingshead, who
that's
was
what I'm
out with
saying.
an injury.
They're banged up in the post badly yesterday. I mean, they were playing so small, guys. I mean,
They probably win that game with Rakia.
Yeah, I would say so. Considering how I think they're the better team than Virginia Tech, but they just couldn't get it together. And
well, I would say they're probably the more talented team.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're necessarily better. I mean, because when you look at, Virginia Tech is undefeated on the year. But what I'll say about the Lady Vols is the reason why it's not necessary.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I'm gonna say is it's not time necessarily to hit the panic button just because it's so early in the season. And when you look at the teams they've played, they have I think they're top 5 in strength of schedule. They've played multiple top 10 teams already. So it's not like they're losing to bad teams, and I think that's something that you can take away as something good. And even though they did lose to Virginia Tech, like you said, it was a close game. Rakia Jackson isn't suspended or whatever you want to call it, coach's decision not playing, then I think they have a much better chance of winning that game. And I mean, they lost by 3. They had to make a comeback, kind of. They were getting beat by double digits for a little bit, so they did show a response to adversity that I haven't really seen so far this season. So I think they still have a chance to be good. They have the talent for sure.
Listen, you talk about this Virginia Tech game, and you want to know how big of an impact Rakia Jackson not being there is. Jordan Horston had 24 shots put up in this game.
She was the only one who could make one.
24 shots she put up. That out of 60. She put up nearly half of the attempts that the entire Lady Vols team did by herself.
And she also had nearly half of the points.
She had over half the
26
points.
out of
She had 26
56.
out of 56, which is insane. And outside of Tamari Key and maybe Jasmine Powell, who had 9, there was not another Lady Vol who could score. And that's the problem with this team, is that you have really 2, because Tamari Key's been super inconsistent. You really only have two players on this team that can score consistently night in and night out. And that's Rakia Jackson and Jordan Horston. That's not good.
Yeah, for sure.
Not good at all.
And all the games they've won, it seems like it's when Jordan Horston and Rakia Jackson
are going
both
off.
have 15 or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like, if they don't both have 15, there's not much you can do about it.
And that's why they almost beat Virginia Tech. I mean, all because of 25. And Riley, I want to get you into this conversation. As you were on the floor watching the Lady Vols against the Hokies, what did you see from the Lady Vols? And, what's going wrong? What do they need to fix?
Yeah, I mean, here and there, it would just be little things, turnovers that were just totally boneheaded, letting the ball slip out of hand. And they were struggling a lot in the post, especially defending the post, which is something that you don't expect, especially when you have someone like Tamari Key down there. She did kind of heat up offensively and defensively as the game went on, but by that point, the deficit had grown. And yeah, like you said, when the entire offense is running through Jordan Horston, you're going to have some issues scoring baskets here and there. And that's what happened, and that's why they weren't able to complete a comeback against a really good Virginia Tech team.
Not only that, she led the team in rebounding as well. You don't really want that. You don't really want that from a guard.
Well, that's kind of how she plays, though.
I know that's how she plays, but when you have Tamari Key had 7. It's just
Horston is Horston of last year, but also Alexis Dye. She took her role
because she
and
has to
merged.
be.
Yes, I know. It's out of necessity, but that's what she
There's
is.
literally no other outlet for the Lady Vols to turn to other than Rakia Jackson. And if she's not going to be playing for for whatever reason Kelly Harper decided, that's not good. That's not good for this Lady Vols team at all.
No, it's not. And, Bryson had kind of mentioned they'd come back. They did come back, but I want to beat home the fact that they had multiple chances to win this game. I mean, it was close there in the closing minutes. And if that Marta Suarez turnover, oh my gosh, she was so open. Like, all she had to do was catch the ball and put it up. And I think that would have tied the game at that point. And then Jordan Horston getting the ball in the inbound, she had a great look and the shot didn't fall. So there's multiple opportunities sent to overtime, not win the game for the Lady Vols at home, and they couldn't get it done. That's kind of been the story of this season, in my opinion. Last season, it was, kind of they were losing games in the second half, but they would come back and they would get it done. This year, it's not happening. It took them till February of last season to lose 5 games. They have now lost 5 games before we've hit December 6th. So not a good look, but maybe they can turn around. They certainly have the talent to do so. And we are going to move along and take our second break of this hour. When we come back, we'll have some NFL talk. The Titans got blasted by the Eagles, so we're going to hear Joseph complain about it. We're going to hear Bryson and Riley complain about it here on Rock Solid Sports. Stay with us.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
The Rock keeps the Big Orange Sports info on air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2022-2023 home schedule includes games against UConn, Virginia Tech, SEC foes, and more. General public ticket info is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. WUTK says, Go Lady Vols.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2022-2023 home ice season from October through April includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets are at KnoxvilleIceBears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Link up at WUTKRadio.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says go Ice Bears.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center. Spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chillwave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports here on WUTK 90.3 The Rock. I'm your host, Jack Foster, alongside Joseph Bonanno. Across the glass, we have Bryson Wright. And over at our very generous sponsor, we have Cool Beans. Riley, how's the atmosphere at Cool Beans right now?
Yeah, Jack, good as always. Getting ready for some Monday Night Football. I got Peyton and Eli on the TV in front of me.
Well, yeah, Manning-casting.
Woo! Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, glad to have Manning-cast back.
Jack's boss.
Yeah. Great time here at Cool Beans.
Yeah, Manning-cast tonight. I think it's Dana White, Randy Moss, and Robin Roberts. So it's going to be a fun night over with Peyton and Eli. And bring your quarter zips, people. That's all I can say. But yeah, Saints Bucks tonight. Saints haven't had a very good season, but they always have Tom Brady's number since he's been in Tampa. So we'll see what happens there. The NFL we're going to talk about right now is the Titans and the Eagles. The Eagles blasted the Titans in Philly 35-10. A.J. Brown got his revenge against his former team. Wasn't a good day for the Titans. I was surprised. I thought with the way of variable coaches, the way this defense has been playing, they would be able to keep it close with Philly, but that was not the case, Joseph.
Yeah, and listen, to be fair, the Tennessee Titans' best offensive player at the moment, and Treylon Burks, was knocked out within the first
That was a nasty hit.
5-10 minutes of this game.
He didn't get ejected, did he?
No, he didn't.
Did you think he should have?
Oh yeah, he launched. He looked him. He looked
True.
Treylon dead in the eye, put his head down, and launched at his face mask.
Can we talk about the fact that Treylon still held onto the ball though?
Oh
Dude,
my
what
God,
a catch!
what a dog, man!
That was
Like
awesome.
that was
But listen,
incredible.
when Tennessee's only offensive playmaker in the passing game goes out, you're pretty much screwed as an offense at that point. You're pretty much screwed.
Well,
And not only that, you're playing with me at offensive line. Those guys couldn't block.
Wow.
Those guys could not block to
Joseph,
save
I
their
don't know
life.
about that.
no, he's right. I mean, look,
They are 6 sacks for 6 sacks. Derrick Henry went 11 for 30, 2.7 yards per carry. Couldn't get out of the backfield. As soon as he hit the offensive line, as soon as he hit the line of scrimmage, he was getting hit by 2 or 3 Eagles. And listen, the Eagles' defensive line and their defense, they're good,
but they're not great.
but they're not that good.
I mean, Brian
that-
Robinson ran all over him.
Dennis Daly was
They
getting
are that good if they know that you're running the ball because you have
Very-
nobody on the outside, like you said with Treylon Burks.
I
If
agree
you
with
can
that.
stack the box every time and you're not worried about play action because the only play action that you can throw it to as a wide receiver is Robert Woods, who only got 1 reception for the whole game, even after Treylon Burks went out. So, yeah, I think that's the main problem is that there's nobody else that anybody is worried about, so they can sell out to stop Derrick Henry.
You want to know what's wrong with this Tennessee team? They don't have anybody. They have no talent. No talent on offensive or on your offensive line. No talent outside of Treylon Burks at the wide receiver position. They have no talent in the DB outside of Christian Fulton. He went down injured, missed the rest of the game. They have no talent at linebacker outside of David Long. Guess what happened to him? Injured, out for the game. Their entire defensive line, which was 4 weeks ago the best in the NFL with Danico Autry, Bud Dupree, Jeffrey Simmons, and all those guys, guess what? You have one of those guys left. and it's Jeffrey Simmons, and he's playing on a bum ankle, and he's already missed a game or two already this season. They have no talent because all the talent that they did have are injured, and any talent that they would have had, they didn't re-sign, and they decided to trade away to the team that just dog stomped them at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
I've said it before, I'll say it
Yeah,
again. The Titans
bad.
are the AFC version of the San Francisco 49ers. How is it they have so many injuries year in, year out? I mean, this is back-to-back years, Joseph.
Get a new training staff. I don't
So
know.
bad.
I don't know what to do. Upgrade the training facilities. Get a new head trainer. Hire a voodoo priest. I don't know. Do something because this is
You
insane.
got to do something about
Listen,
it.
Mike Vrabel.
Well, maybe they should take some of that money they're using on the new stadium and use it for a new training staff. And stuff
who
like
cares about the new stadium? Give me a new roster, please.
Well, the good news for the Titans is that the rest of the division lost. I mean, Houston's the worst team in the NFL. The Jaguars got blasted by the Lions. And then the Colts let Dallas score 33 points in the fourth quarter. Matt Ryan looked like a JV high school player.
So what you're saying is that Tennessee is going to win the division and get blasted in the playoffs.
Yes,
like
so
usual.
Congratulations, you're making the.
They're probably
going
to go like 9-8.
Listen, the thing
they should win 3
the
games.
thing that sucks about Tennessee is that they're good enough to make the playoffs, but they're bad enough where they have zero shot and they'll never have good they'll never have good draft stock. And John Robinson, who has had some good drafts in the past year, just 2019 to be specific, is about the only one over the last couple years. He doesn't know how to draft. He doesn't know how to do free agency. He goes after Julio Jones, who couldn't buy a hammy from anybody. He signs Dennis Daly to replace Taylor Lewan. First off, he gives Taylor Lewan all that money just for Taylor Lewan not to play half of his tenure after getting that contract. He gives way too much money to Ryan Tannehill. He doesn't know how to handle the A.J. Brown situation. It's just an absolute mess in the front office right now for the Titans and John Robinson. And honestly, I've been saying this all season. He needs to start thinking about a new job because I'm telling you, the Titans and Mike Vrabel, you can see it on Mike Vrabel's face. They are this close to being so fed up with it. And you know, you heard Mike Vrabel after the game say the Titans are at a crossroads now. And I think that means two things. One, I think Mike Vrabel is about to rip a new one into this team because of how bad they are playing, specifically the offensive line and specifically the defensive backs and the pass rush. Two, I think they're about to rip a new one into Todd Downing, who is just awful. Does not need to be a head or a coach or an offensive coordinator or whatever in the NFL. He needs to just retire. And number three, and John Robinson, because he gave away any talent in at wide receiver and drafted a rookie who unfortunately cannot stay healthy right now.
If you want to hear more of Joseph's rants on the Tennessee Titans, check out Cover 4 on Tuesdays. We release on Wednesdays, actually, our NFL podcast with Bryson.
Sometimes
Riley.
Thursdays when I'm lazy.
Yeah, there you go. Myself and Joseph's. Also, Joseph's rants are as equal to my rants on Riley's bad takes, so we have a lot of fun sitting on the couch and doing Cover 4. Real quick before we head out tonight, picks for M&F. Bryson, we'll start with you. Bucks or Saints? Who you got?
Give me the Bucks. Tom Brady's not going to let them go 2 games under 500, keep them in the playoff race. So, yeah, give me Buccaneers.
Riley, our man over at our generous sponsor, Cool Beans, who sponsored us tonight. Riley, who you got? Bucks, Saints?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Bucks. Way more talented team than the Saints. Saints have struggled way too much for me to pick them here.
Tom Brady overcomes the New Orleans Hurdle and wins against the Saints, who are a pretty bad football team right now, in my opinion. Joseph, who you got?
Andy Dalton's not a good quarterback. I don't know why Jameis Winston's not playing. Free Jameis. Give me Tampa Bay.
There you have it. Thanks for listening to the Rock Solid Sports here on Monday night here on WTK 90.3 The Rock. We'll be back with you Wednesday night with Chris Clark and crew, and we'll see you later.